It was important to do that before we go live.
Yes. Oh, so I gave Dankest like a little quick rundown of what we chatted about last week and brought up my MTG Arena email. And he said that he also got one. And you said 20
Nice.
games? He played a whole 20 games of MTG Arena in 2023.
That's right. I drafted one set and then I didn't go back. But it was fun. I did enjoy it when I played.
I just thought that was kind of funny because we like talked about that, and then he brought up that it was only in one set, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I think I played a lot of my games in the Lord of the Rings set time frame, so like I think you brought that up last week, Ron, that like a lot of people probably do just kind of, oh, this one specific set is really interesting to me, so like they play that time frame and then maybe not play again or come back for other ones.
Like, oh, they released the Doctor Who set. I'm going to play the Doctor Who set. I love Doctor Who. Okay, I had my fun. I'm done. There's more sets now. I'm not interested. You know, whatever the case may be. Different communities have different things they like.
Yes. Alrighty. I didn't fill in like a ton of stuff really, so we can just like touch on a couple things, and then we can just dive in because I definitely just want to hear how it went for Dankest last weekend mostly. So
yes,
and plus I think we hit on a lot of the stuff last week, like what's happening news-wise and stuff. So okay. Well, are we ready?
Ready.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Welcome to episode 42 of the TCCG Roundtable. We're your hosts, dragonrider, DankestDad, and RonMexico. How's it going today?
It's Friday.
Good.
Can't be better than that.
That's right. Always love Friday.
That's right. You know, going back and editing past episodes, I feel like we say this like almost every other week. We're like, it's Friday. I was like, yes, we do record on Fridays, but we're always excited. They're like, it's Friday.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's a good recording day, and we're always in a good mood because it's Friday.
That's right.
Yeah.
What if we did like a whole switch up and started recording on Mondays, and then we're your host, Dragonrider, DankestDad.
You could be in a sour mood.
How is everyone today? We're like, well, it's Monday, so
yeah, great. We're gonna start the week now. No, it's Friday. Like, we're excited. We're like, ooh, okay. Like, hopefully, most of us are done with our work weeks. You know, we're getting that wrapped up. Usually weekends mean time for like events or tournaments or streams or, you know, things are happening, right? Like fun things. And Fridays also are usually when card games release too. So we have the Today Soon. We're just always going to call it that. The Today Soon. Yes. Dankest, I know you may not know the reference. For those of us maybe who have joined us and don't know the reference as well, this is like just gonna be a running thing. I could not remember what I was saying, and I was like, today soon is coming, today soon, yes. So Ron was like, yes, today soon. So now when things are like releasing today, we'll just say it's today soon that they're coming out.
I like it.
Nice.
Yep, that's the time frame. So, yeah, speaking of today soon, what do we have today? We are going to just touch on a couple of little things, just kind of like re-mention them or whatever, because Ron and I talked a lot about like kind of current happenings in card games, things that happened last week or that are coming up. So I don't feel like we need to necessarily run through like all of those points again. But I did want to bring up that this feels like a big time frame and a big year for a lot of different card games. Again, as Ron and I talked about last time, there's like a ton of things happening just in February and like the start of March. But right now, in this kind of time frame, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is celebrating 25 years. Like, oh my gosh. And next month, in March, I think it's March 11th, Hearthstone hits 10 years. Which, yeah, for the digital space, like, dang. I think I saw also that this year is Flesh and Blood's 5th year.
Wow.
I know.
Damn, I didn't know it had been around that long.
Yeah.
Time flies.
And then of course we have like later this year, Disney Lorcana is already going to be turning 1. Like, oh my gosh, it's just. And then we have multiple new card games coming out. A lot of new stuff coming. It's just, oh wow! Like, what a time! What a time for cards. It's incredible. Which also, this kind of time frame, one of those new things is Star Wars Unlimited, which is coming out. The official launch date is March 8th. So I know we've hit on that a lot, but that is also coming very soon.
I'm only slightly disappointed that it's coming out on March 8th and not like May 4th, you know? On the one hand, hey, it's better for it to come out sooner, but the perfect timing of Star Wars Day would have been pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look. You know, I will say that this year, May 4th is on a Saturday. So, like, I don't know. It would be slightly weird to release it on a Saturday, but they could do it. That could be a cool. I'm sure they'll still do something for that weekend, right? Like some sort of special events or fun
maybe
thing or something.
Maybe they'll have like a big tournament or something going on. People have just under 2 months to get familiar with everything and then do a blowout like a big event on Star Wars Day. That'd be fun.
Be awesome.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Star Wars Unlimited and like events or things that are going on, there is a thing that is going on this weekend, kind of with, I believe that they may be streaming it as well. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick. But there is an event going on this weekend that they have invited some like special guests, some different like large creators and stuff to this event. And they're going to be kind of showing off some more things of the game, just kind of celebrating and getting people like hyped and excited. So they are calling it the Star Wars Unlimited Community Celebration. They are streaming it tomorrow, which is Saturday, February 10th. And they're doing some different, let's see, they're doing a welcome plus gameplay. They're doing some learn to play, crack a pack. They are doing a draft gameplay and then closing. Yeah, so that'll be pretty cool to check out and see. Just like get to watch a bit of gameplay, get to watch a pack being open, you know, maybe a little bit of draft. And then, of course, some of those like big creators or podcasters or whoever is going to be in attendance, they'll get to share kind of that experience and help spread the word still, too. So that's going on this weekend.
Nice.
Any exciting competitive or organized play things that we didn't really mention last week? It seemed like last weekend were all the like big competitive events.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the stuff is winding down. One Piece Nationals and Universus Worlds have come and gone. Some new champions have been crowned, but a lot of games are just ramping up their 2024 competitive season right about now. You know, Hearthstone, no exception. And we'll see what the year brings. But I know I'm excited for it. I'm ready to play as many as my body and marriage can handle. So
fair.
What about your wallets?
My wallet can handle it. I'm okay. I'm doing all right there. Because
That's good.
like they always say, you've got time, money, and energy, and you can like pick 2, and I've got like 1. So, but it's the hard one. So,
This is a start. Yeah.
so we'll see what happens.
All right, Ron. Anything else that you've thought of or of that you want to mention?
I mean, there is a Hearthstone competitive season going on, so it'll be interesting to watch to see who rises to the top and who puts themselves through that gauntlet. I personally have no plans to, because of the system the way that it is, but it is going to be really entertaining to see like which players, because it is really tough out there to like grind the specifically the Hearthstone scene. And we get some really incredible players that make it. I doubt Pocket Train, for instance, is going to be like going all that hard this season. He accidentally, apparently, hit rank 1 anyway recently, so maybe he'll be in Masters Tours again. Maybe he'll win the whole thing again anyway, just because he's that good. But I want to see like who the new faces are going to be, who are the ones that aren't like burned out by the previous system, that are like, oh, I'm going to grind this system and actually succeed. Like it's always very entertaining to see who it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I can tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be me.
Hey, but you can cast it. You can cast Worlds again, hopefully.
That's true. That would be amazing. We'll say I will be grinding as many card games as I can, though. Oh my gosh. There's so many. I don't know if I'm actually prepared. Dankest just brought up like the 3 things. I don't know. I think I'm maybe at 0. I have the interest, which like, the want to do that, but I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we'll see.
I hear you.
I always make something happen. We'll get there. I am speaking of this. So in April, at the end of April, I don't know if I brought this up last week or not, because I can't remember when it was actually announced. Soulforge Fusion is doing what they're calling Fuse Fest 2, which is basically a 2-day like weekend thing where they are having people gather. It's going to be in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it is the last weekend of April, so April 27th and 28th. And they're going to have, over the 2 days, there's going to be like a constructed event. There's going to be a draft event. There's going to be one of their storyline events, which are like you're kind of playing like a constructed match, but they add in like special cards and they add in things, and the way that the games pan out, like based on who wins and what happens in the games, goes towards like a whole story that they've been creating over time with these events, which is really cool. But all of this is going to be with the new set 3 cards that are going to be coming out. So it's like a pre-release with multiple events for the new set. And like, I think the whole like dev team and stuff is supposed to be there, or at least a majority of them. So it's going to be really cool. So I'm planning on attending that. So that is definitely one thing that like I'm working towards, making sure that I can attend that, do some content out of it, and play a whole bunch. And it's going to be exciting, but it hasn't happened yet. And there, the cattail just went across the screen. If you're listening to our audio, you didn't get to see it, but on Dankest's Dankest's video, there was just a cattail just went like in front of his face. Okay, wonderful. Okay, anything else that we want to mention about, I guess, other stuff before we really dive into our main topic for this week? I know we're kind of just like skimming. We're just like, all right, let's go.
Well, we'll do a little segue. So one more thing coming out. So Universus has its next set dropping in 2 weeks. So the whole Universus part is coming back to the game And the first non-My Hero Academia set in a few years is coming out. It's going to be Yu Yu Hakusho: The Dark Tournament. So if you like your 90s anime or are a fan of Universes, be sure to check that out. I know I will be, and I'll be getting a hold of that early. So excited to get to share some of that. And
That's
then
coming out later this month, right?
Yep, 2 weeks from today will be the release. There's no pre-release for this one, just a regular release. I know in the card game world that's a little wild, but they're doing that. And if you go to your release event, you can get entry into the Wish tournament, which will let you get one wish from the Universus developers, which is pretty cool. You can wish to design your own card, get a VIP experience, and meet the team at Gen Con. And there are, I think, 2 more other options, but I know those are the 2 that I would be eyeing if I win. So
that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's
I'm
cool.
super psyched for it. It's a bit of a community meme, but basically they've made a card that references a character card that never exists or was never printed, and at this point is pretty unlikely to ever get printed. So people are like, maybe if, the person who wins is on board, we can make them do it. We can make them go back and fix this mistake. Give us that card.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see
awesome.
if they ever do. Yeah, it's really neat, and I know that most people who play are pretty hyped for it.
Well,
but yeah,
what does that segue into?
But speaking of Universes, that's where I'm getting back from. So last weekend in Orlando, I went to the Hero League Championship, which is the competitive world championship for Universus 2023 season in Orlando. So I went out with some other members from my local. We all went to play in the last chance qualifier and then either participate in the final top 32 cut on Saturday and Sunday or do side events and other fun stuff. And unfortunately for us, we didn't quite get there, but we were very close. I finished 19th out of 102 players in the qualifier, which was a pretty solid showing. I had some great matches, and the person who knocked me out ended up getting top 4 in the top cut on Sunday.
Wow.
So no shame there. Had some awesome matches, met some great people, and was a total blast. My teammate Barlow Guest in my group did a little bit better than me. He ended up getting 13th, and he was knocked out by the eventual world champion, Nick Reagan. So really no shame there. But enough about our shortcomings. So the parts that I think were cool are that, for a game that isn't quite one of, like the big 4 card games, Universes does an awesome job with their in-person events. And there's this kind of like feel like everybody knows each other because it's such a small game. So there's so many people who, I've interacted with on the main Discord for that game who are like, yo, DankestDad, what's up? When they see me in my shirt with the name on the back because they recognize who I am. Lots of players are on a first name basis with the designers and the employees for UVS games, which is super cool. And even the store owners who came there to set up booths. Like when I was looking at some cards to buy for myself, I got a chance to be there with some of the developers and Miles Turner, who's the owner of Legendary Wolf Games. They're based out of Omaha, but they're Universus shop. And I got to hear him talk with the designers about what the new player experience is like, about how the design priorities for the card game might shift with other IPs coming in later in the year, like Critical Role and Attack on Titan, and sort of mechanically about what works and what doesn't for players. And it was fascinating. Like in that game, it's like supposed to be reminiscent of fighting games, where you are throwing out attacks, you are blocking them. And if you're big into fighting games, a lot of the keywords and the mechanics are very evocative of that, but might not be obvious. So I don't know, Ron, Dawn, if you guys play any fighting games, but terms like safe, reversal, gauge might not resonate with you guys in the same way it would for somebody who's a hardcore, King of Fighters or Street Fighter fan, which is sort of where Universus started. And sort of talking about how
I know, finish him. And that's
hey,
that's about it.
fatalities in there. That's a
there you go. Okay, I know that one. Yes. All right, good start.
Yeah. But it's just interesting to see, Miles, the store owner, was really big into that fighting game flavor. And, the designers are talking about trying to preserve that history while at the same time modernizing keywords in a way that will resonate with more players and people who are fans of the other IPs that are coming in. And I don't think that with a Big Four game, you would be able to, sort of see that kind of conversation play out, or just happen to be like me, who is just there at the venue and can just ask, be like, hey, this is cool. Can I listen? And they're like, sure. And just talk through the whole thing. And I was really bummed I had another round to go play in my side event because it was just so awesome. Another fun thing that they had going is they did this side event called Gunslinger. And they had a few of the game designers sitting at the table. And at any point in the day, you could go challenge one of the game designers to a game of Universes. And the twist is that the game designers have cards from the next set and are playing a deck from the new standard format that comes out in a few weeks. And the spoiler season was about 3/4 of the way done at the time of this.
Gosh.
And not all of the cards in all of the decks were spoiled. So it was very fun being blown out, not just by a card that you don't usually build your deck for because it's from a different format entirely, but also a card that you literally had not seen and weren't even aware was a possible thing that could exist. And the designer knows that you don't know. And they've got this cheesy grin, and like the guy was playing,
that's hilarious.
Cheesy grin on his face. He like drops his card, and I'm like, oh no, like, where'd you get that? Like, can I read that one? Because I certainly haven't seen it in the previews, and it was so cool. Plus, very down to earth. It was fun to ask him about what his favorite designs were. And he had brought up, like, oh, there was this deck in testing that I was playing. Deck was so good. And no deck like it ever popped up. Real shame. Like, and, I always wonder what that's like for other games too. Because, I'm sure that comes up in Hearthstone where maybe Gallon has cooked. And there is some deck that is in there that never sees the light of day because only Gallon has figured it out. And the rest of us players were just mere mortals who couldn't get there. And
very possible.
Yeah, a little easier for Universes for that to happen because, I think that collectively we'd like to think that we play a lot of games, but probably more games happen in the first 30 minutes of a Hearthstone expansion than in a whole year of Universes competitive. They're probably pretty similar in terms of order of magnitude. So it takes a lot longer for meta developments to happen and even for great players to figure things out. Otherwise, though, I think the only thing about my experience that I would say I wish could have happened was that they didn't have a stage set up or any way to watch the finals in person. So they had a big projector in the main hall, and it was really hype seeing the cool moments, on stream with a big group. But I'm hopeful that for next year, maybe, we can get the big main stage and just have that energy live and in person, because it is it's a game, like Universes is a game where there's a lot of twists and turns, and there are those really big, really pivotal moments. Like the resource system of checking cards is inconsistent. So imagine playing your turn in Magic or Hearthstone without knowing how much mana you have access to, and only getting that information as you progress in your turn. And
wow.
there might be some situations where you have the game-winning play, but you need your checks to go well. You need the mana to be there, but you need to commit to the play before you know. And there were quite a few moments in both, in my own tournament run, seeing the other top tables playing and going for their finish. And then, of course, in the top cut and, top 8, top 4, top 2, where the players, had to look at the situation and say, all right, I'm going to take the risk. Like, if this game goes on longer, I don't think my odds are as good as they are as hitting this 5. I need to have the resources to end it. And everyone's edge of their seat when that happens. Just seeing whether that top card comes up is an amazing moment. And other card games, it's like the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. And other actual card games don't really have this same sort of thing where this whole draw decides it. And even though for Universus it happens almost every game, it never gets old. I love it. And, I just want to be able to keep that energy going and get that live and in person for the next one.
The do or die next draw is always a fascinating element of any card game to an extent. It's interesting that so many of the games in Universus are built around that kind of moment. I mean, creates a lot of drama. So there's that. I guess in Hearthstone, Naga Mage players might adapt well to that kind of environment. It's well, you have to commit before you can actually know that you have the it'll work. It'll work. Just send it.
Exactly.
Believe
Naga Demon Hunter, kind of the same thing, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really exciting sounding, because I know for me, as a caster, and especially casting some of the big tournaments, something that I have tried to bring in a bit with my casting from other non-card games is those big hype moments, right? That you see in MOBAs or the team shooters and stuff, right? Where, the casters are talking and then all of a sudden it's oh, and now they're going in for and they just start talking super fast, or there's a lot of things happening and they build up this huge hype. I feel that would be really exciting to even see as someone casting in that style for a card game. I've tried to bring that style into my casting for Hearthstone, but it doesn't always work, because as you mentioned, there's not quite as many of those moments. Maybe some RNG thing, or maybe it's oh, they have to top deck exactly this thing and then they top deck exactly that thing, but those don't happen as consistently, right? So to hear that there are those kind of those big hype moments that you would have in fighting games or other style games sounds really, really cool. And
now I'm just imagining you as the caster emulating the Spanish language broadcast of a soccer game where someone scores a goal and they just lose their minds. And that was always my favorite part of. Sometimes I would just not even pay attention to the English broadcast at all. Just switch over to the Spanish broadcast. I have no idea what they're saying, but the hype is off the charts when someone scores a goal. It's so awesome.
I will say there have been times when I've casted where literally I have I'll have my hands on my head, or I'm just oh my gosh, I don't know,
right.
And I do try to get into it, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to kind of relay that for card games. But that sounds really cool. And the fact that, like you said, it was really it was casual enough that you were also able to play and then be close to devs and hear those kind of almost behind the scenes or kind of conversations about the game design and game theory and stuff is really, really cool. And we might have mentioned this a little bit 2 weeks ago, but Ron, I feel you and I talked about that kind of more in depth last week, where it does seem these events like this that are doing it's not just go for this one singular tournament, right? But it's a weekend of multiple tournaments. There's events for if you don't make it to the championship or the big tournament, there's side events. There's other things that you could be doing. The playing against a dev and playing against those decks. That's so cool. I think Ron and I talked about that was even the kind of environment that like BlizzCon had, like in the tavern specifically for Hearthstone. They have the Duel of Dev. You know, you could meet some of the devs and get their signature and chat with them for a minute. You know, you had all the kind of different aspects, and it appeals to so much more audience, right? They're like, hey, maybe I'm not good enough to qualify for the World Championship, but I can go and I can see the event. I can meet devs. I can meet other like creators, or I can meet people who are big into the game, and that has a huge draw and appeal to a lot of players. So it's really cool to hear that they are also kind of working in that direction. Especially with the big IPs that are coming, as you mentioned too. Like, I think if they already kind of have that set up and then they get this big explosive growth, hopefully, right? Like that would be the aim with some of these like big IPs and some of these big like connections that they're trying to make, is that they get a big influx of new players that, you know, hopefully that trend continues or even, you know, gets better, right, as time goes. Because I do feel like a lot of games in general are working in that direction. So it's good to see them doing that. And that sounds like it was an absolute blast, even if like the results weren't maybe quite what you wanted.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I can't really complain. I know that from what others in my playgroup said, this was one of the tougher fields they've gone against for a tournament. And this was my first premier event outside of, you know, anything at my local store. So I feel like to go against some people who really do believe that they have a shot to be in the world championship and only getting knocked out by the others kind of right on that bubble, no complaints at all. I learned a lot about the game and had a ton of fun.
That's a great takeaway.
Yeah. But hey, and you know, even outside the game, like notwithstanding, there are some fun moments. Like, you know, with Universus now, My Hero Academia is the primary IP. So they got Zeno Robinson, who voices the character Hawks, to come in for meet and greets and all that. And for one of the side events, somebody won the Jumbo Hawks card. And Zeno Robinson like wanted it. And you know, depending on who you ask, he was either very serious or just kidding. And I think he would have gone with whatever the player would agree to.
Nice.
But it was cool. Like that, like for side events, they had colossal cards for the top two finishers. So basically, you know, picture like a 24 by 36 inch card stock, like of, you know, like the character cards and stuff from the last set. And how people get them home from Florida, that's their problem. But they were extremely, extremely cool. And I do wish that I had played a little, or had a little bit more favorable things, maybe an easier opponent, a little better luck. Because I was on 9th place when top 8 prized for my side event. And
damn,
would have been cool to show up at home with a big colossal card.
Dang.
I wonder if anybody was mad at the guest for twice. No spoilers though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many Twice fans we have. But but yeah, I mean, they are. But like the whole, it's cool though to see someone like that who's involved with the show but not the game, like kind of walk in and be like, "What is this?" and then by the end of it, actually be like, "Hey, that was pretty cool." Like then, like to the designers, I need one of those cards. I need that one. Like I need the big me. And just seeing them kind of be like, "Oh, we'll try."
That's awesome.
It's cool. And then, you know, between rounds, I got to talk to Nick Reagan, who was the eventual world champion. And he had just, you know, knocked out my friend, but we were all three of us chatting. And Nick decided to tell us the history of one of the keywords in the game. So in Universus, there's this keyword deadlock that exists to basically give you effects when the other person has a lot of foundations, which are kind of like lands or mana resources. So this would be something like analogous to like a Mana Thirst 10 in Hearthstone. Or basically this would be like the keyword like F Priest. When they set up their control condition, your cards get crazy and let you punch through. And this keyword existed because apparently for the World Finals, and I think Nick said it was the 2016 season, the two players played their best of 3, and as is the case in Top Cut, it was untimed. And game 1 went for 4.5 hours, I believe he told me. I might be misremembering that.
Whoa.
But pretty much there was a game state created where the players were incentivized to basically play land pass every turn. So build their foundation, pass, don't attack. And the designers were so unhappy with this outcome that they decided to basically create a keyword that would make this situation not happen as much anymore. Because the players were doing things correctly, like they were trying to win, but it made for a miserable experience for viewers, for tournament organizers, for players. And they said, no more, we can't do this. So I think that they're designing, in a more elegant way that should hopefully not make a keyword like deadlock, an omnipresent necessity. But it's just funny, to hear from that, like, yeah, this world championship was so like degenerately controlled that they made a control breaker keyword immediately, just like right after. Like, and like I can tell is every bit the card game nerd that I am. And just, seeing someone who clearly loves the game so much just gush about this sort of weird, like, kind of obscure, like, factoid, that warms my heart. And, really good for him that, he went on to win, but also just, that someone who, loves the game so much and, has all these stories was able to be a part of one himself. And he brought a deck that was not on anybody's radar. That's one of the beauties of a small game. You don't have time to test everything. And he pretty much, won convincingly, didn't drop a single match through Swiss or, and stayed winner's side through the final. And someday people will be telling his story about how he won with this deck no one saw coming. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. I feel like that's not even like the first time we've heard a similar story on the show. Even I will say, kind of in our much earlier days, Itachi and I, he had brought on one of his like card game friends who had, I can't remember if he actually won or was just in like the top of the world championships for a Yu-Gi-Oh! But he brought a deck that like nobody expected. I think we've even heard kind of similar stuff from like Pocket Train. We've heard, like Lambie, when we had Lambie on, I think he shared something kind of similar that like people just don't always expect like those kind of, especially when you have to bring multiple decks, right? Like for Hearthstone, like you got to bring like 4 decks. Sometimes it's easy to come up with 2 or 3 of them, but then sometimes you can kind of finagle your way with like some off deck for the 4th one. It's always so interesting to me to hear that like that's something that kind of happens in multiple different card games by like those top level players. They're just like, yeah. And then all of a sudden just like this weird like deck Z. And I was like, yeah, this is great. And then they win with it. And you're like, yes, cool. Like I can't even play like decks A, B, and C to that level. And here you are with deck Z, like just stomping everybody. Okay.
Yeah, it was very neat. And like, like with Hearthstone, I'm more used to kind of seeing like either the hard counter lineup with some fake stuff, but to beat a certain deck, or someone bring something off meta that isn't usually in a lineup. And in this case, it was like, and in Universes, most decks tend to be the best cards on a symbol, so kind of like a color in Magic or class in Hearthstone, and with a few minor changes to fit the character you're building around. And this deck was not that. It was pretty much an entirely different package of cards that were very strong and very competitive, but just no one at the top level had happened to try them. And, you know, that's the difference between a game like Universus and a digital game. When there's only a couple hundred games that the best players are able to play, there will be times when someone has an idea, tests it well, fleshes it out, and prepares it, and nobody else has even seen it, never mind figuring out how to beat it. So was quite cool to see, you know, like the bulk rare pile essentially, or, you know, like all like a pile of cards that are considered bulk or not super playable necessarily, just hose everybody. And they aren't bulk anymore, at least for the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Nerf these cards. How could they print that?
I would like to make a slight segue and actually ask you, which the next couple of weeks is a great thing to bring up. So for people who maybe are hearing about this world championship that happened, this last chance qualifier, this like big event, and getting to meet, you know, all sorts of people, and like even hearing your experience about getting to, you know, chat or be nearby devs and all these cool people, what would you say is like the next step for them if they want to get into the game and start like exploring what Universus, like, what is this card game? What is it all about? How do I get into it? Where do I get cards? Like, what would you advise for them, how they start approaching that and getting into the game?
It's a great question. So there's the main Universus Discord, which I think would definitely be the place to start. They have an open Discord server. And if you go in there, you can maybe find players who go to locals near you, or talk and see what other people are doing. Webcam is a big part of this game's culture because it was coming up during COVID with My Hero Academia. So even if you can't play physically, you'll be able to find games on webcam, find games on Tabletop Simulator, and be able to meet people that way. Don right here has pulled up the UVS Games website here. So if you want to kind of get a little bit of background of what sets there are, it's good. And then there is the event finder. So you can search for events either online or in person that you can play in. And at that point, you might be able to meet more people. It is a bit more of a niche game, so it is possible that depending on where you are, you might not have the option for local play. But if that's the case, there are webcam level regionals that you can participate in. And perhaps if you are doing well in those, you can go to one of the premier events. There's a regional in Las Vegas, a regional in St. Louis. They have their World Championship next year coming up as well. They have separate locations if you aren't in the US. They have a UK regional in Sheffield, I think, for Europe, and in Oceania, there also are more. And yeah, there's lots of ways you can get out to play. And if all of that is too much, if you can't figure it out and you really want to get into it, DM me. I'll help you out. It's a really, really awesome game, awesome community. And yeah, I just can't say enough good things.
What is this Challenger series?
So a few weeks ago, Universus released some pre-constructed decks with characters from Cowboy Bebop and from Trigun Stampede. So one event that's ongoing right now is this sort of Challenger series sort of bonus. And if you play one of these characters at your local, then you'll get some bonus LP. And LP is a neat little currency that you can use to buy certain promo cards, alternate art foils, and even playmats from the UVS store. So it's kind of your reward for playing in locals. You also can redeem your prize packs and booster packs and mail them to UVS, and they will give you 1 LP per pack. So if you are buying cards and playing the game, you'll be earning your way toward promos. And if you join the program and refer a content creator like AFG, then you will get 50 LP right off the bat. So it's really, really great. And yeah, I know that for me, I have earned a good chunk of my bonus LP that I will be saving up for some of those nice foil alt arts. So you can see here with the split second standoff and get the scoop. Those will be coming back to the shop soon. And otherwise, these promos here are the ones for the current My Hero Academia set Jetburn. But it's a pretty cool thing that they do. And I think that, they're shifting away from mechanically unique promos more toward alternate arts. But, these cards are very good. A lot of them are great from a competitive perspective. They look great if you're just a collector. And, that one there, that Recipro Acceleration Kick, just won the World Championship. So get your hands on it while you can. But yeah, it's a really neat program. And I can't think of anything super comparable. But, it's definitely something that makes Universus unique. And yeah, I'm a big fan.
How do you get the points to do this? Like to get these?
So you get the points for participating in events. So if you can go to your local, go to a regional, go to a store championship, or even just playing at your kitchen table. You're allowed to submit one of those casual level events per week. You get a budget of points. You also can get points by participating in events like the Challenger Series one by bringing one of those characters to your local. You also can redeem your packs. So if you get booster packs or they have promo packs that you get for locals that have some of these cards in them, you can send those into UVS games in lots of 30 and you will get 1 LP per pack. So you'll see these big numbers on the Cowboy Bebop ones. That is because you get that many points for showing up and playing in the events. And if you save up the whole 2,000, then you can get the playmat, which is pretty neat. So yeah, like I said, fan of the program, love to, have these other cards and get rewarded for playing the game and feeling like going to locals means something, even if it doesn't translate to a competitive bid. If that's something you're also trying for, you can end up with something at least that makes you feel like your hard work is paid off.
Yeah.
It's a great concept. Yeah. Any kind of rewards for participating and growing the community is a really good way to go. I like what they're doing.
Yeah. See, they have their events here. So you can see for the format type at the bottom, they have Spotlight, which at this point is My Hero Academia, specific to an IP. They have Challenger Series launch event, standard, and maybe if you're lucky, you can find some retro, which has all the cards all the way back to the early 2000s. So those people are hardcore who are playing the game for that long, like Legacy or Vintage and Magic. And yeah, and if you make it all the way down to Sunday, you'll see where I'm going to be this weekend, playing in my local as always. But yeah, it's fun and it's cool to see the game just growing bit by bit over all the time I've been playing. And yeah, it's definitely a fun one.
That's awesome. Yeah, they have it all just on the single website too, which seems great because it's like you can find events, you can find info about the rewards, about the cards, about like
Yes.
where you can go to play. It's all in one place. Whoa.
Yes.
How
And
handy.
it's and there's some growing pains. This is actually a new site that they just switched to a couple months ago. And they are adding and fixing features weekly. So if there's something that you think might be missing, you can put a ticket on their Discord. And it's, even though it still is, a work in progress getting toward that perfect site, it has gotten a lot better since the day it came out, and they're committed to making it the best it can be.
Awesome.
So yeah, boom, Universus. There it is.
Yeah. I will definitely have to check it out, with all the time and money and what was the other one? Energy, you said?
Yes.
All of those resources that I'm gathering, not even have yet.
Yeah. Well, much like a game of Universes, the amount of resources you have at any given time is indeterminate. You just have to spend it all and hope.
Perfect.
Maybe not something to directly apply to life.
Yeah, maybe your time and energy. Probably not money, though. But who knows?
Oh my gosh, that's great. So I believe the World Championship was streamed as well, correct?
Correct.
For anybody who, maybe if you're hearing about this and you're like, oh, cool, I want to check out the event. Do you know where that was streamed, or is there an easy way to access that?
Yes.
It might be on the website here.
It was on the Universus CCG Twitch channel, but I am skeptical that they had a convenient link on the website. Maybe in one of the blog posts about the World Championship, but they are right on Twitch. So at least we can drop a link in the description for this one, but they are, streaming their premier level events when those do happen. So I believe that the next US one will be April 27th and 28th. So if you are not going to Fuse Fest with Dawn, you can stay home and watch some Universes or go to Vegas and play yourself. So
are you going to that one?
I will be going to Vegas. I am hoping to cast, but I'll settle for playing. We'll see. I'm trying to lobby. I'm hoping I'm behind a desk and not behind a deck. That checking thing is fun to watch, but boy, is it stressful to prep for. So yeah, but I really do love the game.
I think you and I are on that same page of like, I love the casting and like, to me, talking about the different decks or decisions, like it's so exciting. But if I had to do it, if I were the one playing, no, it's heavy stressful.
Yeah. I mean, casting is great. You're playing both sides, so you always win.
Vegas is also always a very interesting place to hold any kind of tournament for anything. Personally, I would be hard pressed to even like go to the tournament if I was in Vegas. When I'm in Vegas, I want to do one thing and one thing only, and that's just play poker. My idea of fun is like sitting in a dimly lit room for hours with hostile strangers.
I mean, you're doing it. You're doing that playing card games one way or another, right? It's just
this is true. Yes.
I was gonna say, and kind of the way that Dankest described it, I mean, aren't you kind of betting on like how much resource you're gonna have during some of these turns? Like,
it's very true.
You're gambling, so you can.
I find I win a lot more money playing poker though than card games, like tournament type card games that are unrelated to the 52 card, deuce through ace type of decks.
Fair. Okay, so what I'm hearing is end of April, everyone's having a party. in Vegas for one card game or another.
Yeah. Party in Vegas for card games. I'll show up too, but I won't attend any of the card games. I'll just be in a poker room.
All right. Anything else, Dankest?
No, I think that is all. But thank you for letting me ramble on a bit and talk about this experience. I'll be writing up something that's a bit more focused soon. But in the meantime, just happy to share what I can here.
Heck yes. And get ready to check out when Dankest is sharing about the new cards that are coming ahead of time. Because like you said, you'll get some early access to some of those and be able to make some videos and stuff and show those off.
Yeah, well, I will not be here next Friday. You will be able to see me in spirit because that's when those videos will go live. So you can get a look at them then.
Sounds good.
And then, does this mean I get to finally do it? My first sign off? Oh boy.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us this week. And if you or someone you know would be interested in joining us, please reach out. You can email us at TCCG Roundtable at protonmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/TCCG Roundtable. Use our top pinned tweet for a link to our Discord or use the link in the description. Check out the video version at youtube.com/c/dragonrider TCCG. Everywhere you can find audio podcasts. You also can support our Inked Gaming affiliate link, which is shown here that I am not going to try to read. You also can find us individually. You can find me at twitter.com/daddankest. You can find Ron. Where can you find Ron?
At Ron_HS.
And you can find Dragonrider. Oh, of course. And Dragonrider. Where can we find you?
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter, DonnieDK. That's DAWNIEDK. You can find me Twitch and YouTube, Dragonrider TCCG, and talking all things standard Hearthstone every week at the Dr. 3HS podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much, and we'll see you at the roundtable.